I can finally start my talk. The topic of the talk is inspired by the place I usually work, which is a local coffee shop. So a fresh cup of iOS 10 basically means since 2 weeks ago, iOS has entered its second decade of existence. So this is a good opportunity to see what's the state of things in iOS world, what's the market, how it looks like, and especially if you are a new developer or if you are a developer in another area and you are thinking about entering the iOS as an application producer, what out of all the things that iOS can offer you, what you should focus on at this particular moment, at this upcoming several months. There are tens of thousands of APIs that iOS offers, like over 60 or 70 different frameworks, so it's very easy to become overwhelmed when you're looking at this whole thing. But a bit of history or reminiscence in this. You would be forgiven to think that iOS is a fairly stable iOS at this point, like version 10. It should be, all the edge cases should be resolved, everything should be fairly stable, and you should only worry about developing for the new things. However, that's not really true, because 3 years ago, Apple basically reset the things almost to the bare minimum. Like visually and from the design side, everything was entirely new. And not only that, but under the hood, they changed so many things that designers and developers basically spent an entire year just playing catch-up with whatever new stuff Apple did. For instance, they changed such basics like views hierarchy, how it's developed inside the iOS. So simply taking your existing code in iOS 6 and recompiling with iOS 7, your app was almost certainly broken, because they changed how the content of the views is rendered inside navigation controllers, tab bar controllers. Part of your content was entirely not visible nor accessible in any way. So that was a year of catch-up, not only for us as the third-party developers, but also for Apple developers as well, because most of the APIs were actually written from scratch, and there was a whole like a mountain of bugs they were solving in 7.1, 7.2, 7.3, and so forth. So for designers, it was even worse. At the same time, they introduced iPhone 6 and iPhone 6 Plus, which significantly changed the resolutions you need to deal with, especially in the 6 Plus, because they even introduced a new image asset category called at3x. So even if you even if you fix your application from the programmer side, on 6 Plus it was still broken because you needed to redraw all your assets for the new resolution. And basically that meant that since iOS 7 and 6 and 6 Plus, Apple basically killed pixel perfect design. So if you look at these resolutions, you can see some really strange looking numbers, like 1125 times 2001. Like, what the hell? This was entirely crazy. Then you have downsampling and upsampling with even crazier numbers. So if you were a designer in the iOS space and you were making some really nice, perfect textural designs, you basically needed to start learning from zero. Like, everything was different. In iOS 8, they basically continued without stopping. They even actually picked up the pace. iOS 8 was the single biggest API release of all iOS versions ever. Like over 1,500 new APIs, especially in the transition and animation part of the APIs, how you actually transition between various screens. And this was really interesting when you look at this, because they didn't build those new offers as either classes or or basically methods of existing object. They were all protocols. You basically description of behaviors that you need to then attach to your existing objects and create. And at the same time, in 2014, they actually introduced something else that was almost entirely built with protocols in mind. And that's this. There should be a sound there, but never mind. They introduced Swift. And Swift was completely new for all developers at the time. No one actually expected this. There was many people that were hoping for this, but no one actually expected this to happen. And the excitement in the community and in the Apple itself was very, very palpable. So what's so good about Swift? This is as they say, the first language that was built with protocol-oriented programming in mind. They are moving away from object-oriented programming and going into the protocol-oriented programming and using value types instead of reference objects and classes and things like that. So this required a really big shift in how you actually think about very essence of how you make your apps. So this was all in the space of basically 6 months. In iOS 8 and 9 and 10, they introduced a whole set of new APIs, various. iOS has always had a very rich set of frameworks like core location, core motion, photo kit, they introduced Siri kit, message kit, lots of something kit. So when you look at this at this moment, when you look at it now, after iOS 10, you can be really forgiven if you this is too much. Like, how many people do you need to actually tackle this stuff? Like, it's very, very hard. And so the question is basically what you should focus on. Like, when you look at this, like, I'm going to develop a new app, or I'm going to start the iOS branch of my company. So what I need to do? So the first question is which language to use. There is not, after like from 2 weeks ago, there is no decision to actually think about. It's Swift 3. Swift 3 is the last big breaking syntax changes that Apple is doing. After this, even though the code you create now is not binary stable, if you compile it, you will need to recompile it until they say the code is stable. But there will be no more really big syntax changes in the code, so you can base your new applications in Swift 3. If you don't do that, I guarantee you in a year you will be very sorry that you're still in Objective-C. Everything Apple does is going to Swift. Even if they're not yet making new frameworks in Swift, they are really thinking about Swift. We're making new frameworks. In 2014, I've seen Apple developers changing their slides 1 hour, 2 hours before the talk to actually be the first to have a presentation with Swift sample code. In 2015, already more than 50% of presentation was using purely Swift for the sample code. This year, everything is Swift. The only Objective-C code I've seen in over 100 presentations that Apple gave on WWDC in June was in debug and troubleshooting sections. Like, everything else, everything new, everything was Swift. So Swift is the future of the languages and the language in Apple ecosystem. And if you have an old code base, you will need to maintain it. But for anything new, Swift is the way to go. Okay, that was the language. What about the features? Like, should you make something that's I don't know, great drawing app, maybe a great photo app, productivity tools? What it is in the iOS 10 world that you need to focus? None of that. You basically make stickers. Stickers is the name of the game. And this can be easily dismissed, like this is a passing fad. People will make stickers and then this will go away. But I can guarantee you this will never go away. Like, people love stickers. They will think 5 times before spending $2 to buy an amazing productivity or notes app. But they will spend $3 or $5 in a heartbeat to buy a sticker if they like the images. So if you have a friend who is an illustrator or a graphic wizard, call him for a drink or call her for a drink and try to see if you can find a common ground. Halloween is coming up in less than a month. New Year and Christmas. There will be a bunch of spring festival like Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, which is very popular festival in Ireland and in USA. So if you have anything that anyone who can actually draw you something, make a sticker pack. So this is the front page of the US App Store 2 days ago. So you can see 3 rows of sticker apps and message apps. So you can see what they're actually really focusing on. And this is very profitable. Don't make a mistake. If you make this, you will certainly make some money, but be aware of that it's amazingly easy for someone to rip you off. Like they basically just unpack the app, repackage or something else, and then publish it as their own. So you need to do as the nature of App Store is that very it's easy to copy something, especially in games department. This is like a whole degree of easier, much easier than previously. So what else is there? iOS is Apple always makes a showcase of apps using new features in iOS, whatever version is currently on. So now it's 10. So you can see there are message apps, there are integrations with Siri, there are integrations with maps. But in order to create the maps extensions forever, you need to basically partner with Apple. You need to contact them. You cannot make it on their own. iPhone 7 and 7 Plus have an amazing camera, so they feature all the camera apps as well. So this like editorial that they make, this is your first stop. Okay, this is what Apple features, but this is their own game. This is what they need for their own marketing needs. So if you want to be present here, you're already late. You should be making up for this back in June and up to September and October in order to be here. So if you want to be part of Apple's own marketing initiative, you need to learn Swift now, get ready for the next summer, clear your calendar, and on the next keynote in WWDC, see what Apple is showcasing in iOS 11, and then use that to make your apps and hope for the best. If you're looking for a more general, long-term application, long-term application development or distribution, there's something called Editor's Choice. These are the apps that showcase throughout the year. Most of them are games. There are a bunch of like photo apps. There are even like personal journal apps, there are messaging apps, all kinds of apps. If you click each of them on the App Store, you will see the description that App Store editors left, why they are featuring this app. Here are a few examples. Day One is an app made by a few people. Maybe there are more of them, but it was one guy in the beginning who is making a really good money for over 4 or 5 years, I think. They won Editor Choice, they won App of the Year. This is an example of long-term app that solves a problem for people who likes to make diaries. Another one is my favorite example. It's called Strix from Australia. 2 guys basically entered a field which is entirely crowded. Like this is the app that helps you make good habits along the way. Like make a good, healthy, day-to-day goals and habits, achieve goals and things like that. There are hundreds of apps like this. They appeared like several months ago, make a really awesome app, and they won the Apple Design Award this year. So it's possible if you're a small team, there are 2 guys, small teams, to enter a very crowded market and make a living. So let's see. Don't forget that there is something else as well. Apple also revealed a brand new series of Apple Watch. And this is part of the health and fitness category, which they are heavily pushing. Like everything in the watch is in the health and fitness. And this is something I personally invest all my company time. So I am updating Run 5K, my bread and butter app, to use new features in WatchOS 3, and to tell you and to show you that I'm actually eating my dog food. Like. I am making a brand new app in Swift 3, iOS 10, WatchOS 3, and tvOS thrown into the mix, all inside one app. So this is what I'm betting like several years of my own company time for this in this area. So health and fitness, like my competition is Nike, Adidas, Runkeeper, Runtastic, venture-funded companies. I don't care. The Strix guys shows you how you can actually make a living, and this is something I do. So that's about it. Very short overview of iOS 10. You can find the slides on Speak Deck, where I always keep my slides, and you can find more details about me and my app on radiantapp.com. So thank you for listening.